Well, and today I'm joined by a fantastic group of guests here this evening. So to the right of me, I'm joined by Marc Biggs from All for United. Below, we are joined again by Mr. Jamie McKay. And to the right of Jamie, we are joined by Amy from She Devils United and our own all women's podcast, Three Devils and a Gooner. So fantastic panel here tonight, and we're here to talk all things Manchester United, and most importantly, the game that's coming up this Sunday against West Ham. So first of all, I suppose the first thing we're going to chat about tonight is last night's game against AC Milan. I suppose when you look at that game last night, two big teams in Europa League, two teams who should be playing in the Champions League. Not the greatest of games. I thought AC Milan, in my opinion, dominated for us for large parts of the game in midfield. They had a good grip of the game. They arguably could have won the game, considering their goal was unjustifiably disallowed. And you look at just our overall play, we didn't create enough chances. Marc, I'm going to come to you first with regards to last night's game against AC Milan. Like, how would you overall assess the game, and kind of what were your overall thoughts?
Yeah, I think we were incredibly poor. I think you're right. We were very lucky to get away with a draw. And I think the goal was probably, fortunately for us, okay, but incorrectly ruled out. But they could have had several more, and we just looked very lethargic. And whilst I've said many times in the past, especially last season, Matic was probably our key player, I think, last season, or one of. And I feel that he's probably a little bit past it now. You and I have spoken many times about getting in, and we've also had this in the chat elsewhere as well, getting a defensive midfielder in. I just, Fred, unfortunately, isn't quite on form. I think, Matic probably just isn't good enough. I think ever since that Spurs game, he's not been played much, and he's just not the Matic we've seen before. And ideally, my number one target would be a defensive midfielder. And I feel that that's where we lost it last night. I feel that we just looked like we had no idea. We couldn't progress the ball forward. We need someone that's going to be able to sort of sit in front of that defence and be able to progress that ball forward, which Matic can't do anymore now. And McTominay isn't that man either. He plays better further forward, but I think he was trying to make up for a lot of Matic's, lack of ability last night. And it was very disappointing. I mean, obviously it doesn't take away Diallo. Absolutely thrilled for the boy. Wonderful, wonderful goal, wonderful assist. And he really did lift the game as soon as he came on. And it was also good to see that Ollie made some changes earlier. He gets criticised for these things, and he made that early. But unfortunately, 1-1. We're very lucky. We've got a lot to work on. We've made it very difficult for ourselves. But I think we're very lucky, and we should really be pleased that we came away with just a draw.
Yeah, like I look at that game, and I think, looking back now, I was very frustrated, obviously, with conceding the goal literally with remaining minutes to go, like literally in Fergie time, like conceding that goal. But like when you reflect on it, like 24 hours on, we're very, very lucky to be coming away there, with a 1-1 draw. Like, look how they controlled the game. I thought they done fantastically well. I think you're absolutely right. Like, we talked about Matic and trying to get Matic into the team, but when you look at it, like last night was actually the defining moment, saying like, look, you need a defensive midfield player in, like, because if you don't get a defensive midfield player in the next season, and Paul Pogba goes, which as someone who I'm going to come on to later on in the show, like, you're in trouble. You're absolutely you're in trouble, because how many top teams in the league don't have a top defensive midfield player? Like, even look at Arsenal, who are 10th in the table, shit team, right? But they have a good defensive midfielder in Thomas Partey. And even Granit Xhaka is an all right player in defensive midfield. Do you know what I mean? Like, so when you put that into perspective, United need to prioritize that position in the summer. I think that's very, very important. Now, obviously, we've seen the financials. We've heard things out of the club saying that we're not going to be expecting marquee signings in the summer. But you look at players like such as a Basuma or Declan Rice, someone like that. Like I wouldn't consider them marquee signings. Like you consider a Haaland or a Jadon Sancho a marquee signing, in that regard. So, like, I think defensive midfield player is a massive, massive priority. And I think, like, even look when Sandro Tonali came on for AC Milan last night, young 20-year-old defensive midfield player. He was nasty. He was a very, very good player. You could see he picked up the ball. He was getting 1-2s and he was breaking up play. And he was very smart for like the age of him, like 20 years of age, and to show that maturity in the game. You'd know he's Italian. Like you'd know that he's educated within the game. And he was someone who was very good when he came off the bench last night. And maybe he may be someone we could look at in the summer for maybe a cheaper fee than what a Declan Rice would, because there's plenty of defensive midfield players out there that United can look at and would most definitely be an upgrade on the Nemanja Matic and Fred, because Fred again last night, like he gave away the ball. Now I know people can talk about handball, but like the ends justify the means there. They scored a goal and it wasn't a handball. So I've seen loads of people moan on social media that it was a handball. They shouldn't have got the equaliser, but they should have already had a goal that wasn't a handball. So, like, look, at the end of the day, like the ends justify the means. You can't give out about that, because at the end of the day, they should have had a goal. Yeah, absolutely. Like, do you know what I mean? But yeah, look, it's one of them things where next Thursday we're just gonna have to hope that our injuries come back, like that we can get like Van de Beek, Cavani. Now, I know Paul Pogba, they're saying he's not going to be back until after the international break, which is a shame. But he'll be back for the run-in, I suppose, which is important. But like, you have to get the Cavani's back. You have to get the Van de Beeks back. Rashford, Martial, you have to get them back next week, because they have a lot of players coming back. Rebic back, Ibrahimovic back, Kalinigo back. There's a lot of quality players they're going to have back. And then we have to go to the San Siro. So that's going to be a tough ask in itself. But, United, when we go play away from home, though, there's always that little caveat, because we're a way better team when we play away from home. So, that could be a positive thing. But Amy, yourself, what did you think of the game yesterday?
Yeah, it's quite poor from our point of view, to be honest. I feel like from the get-go, I don't think they were expecting Milan to press on us as much as they did. They were pressing on us quite hard, which was forcing us to make the errors. But I think I completely agree in the sense that we definitely need a defensive midfielder. I think our midfield is definitely an issue at the minute. Not one of them can pass the ball forward, which is creating awful problems for Bruno, because he has to look for the ball himself. But again, yeah, an awful performance. And obviously it is coming down to injuries and stuff. But even with our own full squad, we're very inconsistent. So we kind of knew we were kind of, after the City game, we're going back to the way we were before. But we definitely need to push on, and hopefully we've a few more back from injury next week.
Yeah, I think that's massively important. Like, I love Scott McTominay. He's someone who, I think he didn't have the greatest of games yesterday. I think like no player really played well yesterday. I think that's one of the things, isn't it? Like, no player really had like a standout performance in a Manchester United shirt. And look, Milan were the better team on the day. I don't think we can really don't make any excuses for the draw. Like, I think they were they played fantastically. Their pressing was very good. Todd Kessie in midfield was a very, very good player. Their young striker up front as well, he got in behind our back four a couple of times as well and was very dangerous. And like, this is all without Zlatan, the team. Like, Zlatan's there last night, he takes a few of them chances, and
I literally said it last night. If Zlatan played, we'd be crucified. The way we were playing last night, he would have crucified us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just one of them things. You just have to hope next week that we're just on our game and do that a bit more. But Jamie, yourself, like, what did you make of the game? Did you like, when you look at the substitutions that Ollie made with 20 minutes to go, defensive substitutions, nearly went to almost a back eight. What did you make of that? I can't hear him. Oh, no, I can hear him now.
No, Jamie, you're muted. No.
No, we can't hear you at all, Jamie. Oh,
He'll come
so
back.
he's gone. So for the meantime, Mark, I'll come to you with the same question. Like when you looked at the substitutions that Ollie made last night, 20 minutes to go, very defensive substitutions. We're almost a back 7, back 8. Do you know what did you make of that with them substitutions? Like,
yeah, I mean, they weren't really a positive change. But the problem is my dog's just scratching at the bloody floor. Sorry. The problem is, if we had put on maybe, I mean, we haven't got many available, but if we'd put on a couple of more strikers, we would have been moaning if we conceded. Unfortunately, we did concede, and I think that in a game like that where you're 1-0 up, I think Fergie would have probably done the same. He would have wanted to protect that lead. It is a bit frustrating and scary that obviously AC were probably without half their team, and that's something we'll really have to look out for next week. However, we aren't in the best of form at the moment, and we don't really know every week what United we're going to get, and I just hope that next week we can approach the game differently, be a lot more attacking, and hopefully cause a bit more problems than we did. Hopefully we'll have some more players next week. So I can understand why he would make the changes that he did. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out, and it's very easy for us to be negative about that. However, it could have been that we could have saved face and not conceded. It just didn't work out this time.
yeah, and Jamie, I'm just going to come to you on the goal we conceded last night. Conceded again from another set piece, and your man who scored from AC Milan had basically a free run at it. Like nobody picked him up. Like, what did you make of the goal we conceded?
Can you hear me okay, yeah?
Yeah.
You can hear me okay, yeah. Sorry, I'm having a bit of technical issues here. Just like quickly just touching on the performance as well, Keane. I know you asked me there and I had a little bit of a glitch there, so sorry about that. I just don't think we got going from the first whistle, and the biggest issue for me is it's becoming an issue every week now. You never know what team's turning up. I feel like we only play well when we're playing against a team that's coming on to us. Like when we need to sort of take the impetus in the game and go forward and stamp our authority on it and be the attacking team, we really struggle. But I totally agree with what Marc was saying earlier about Matic. I think his legs have just gone now. His passing ability is still there to a certain extent, although he's not as adventurous as he once was when we first signed him, when he come from Chelsea. I do think that's an issue, but so centre back and so right midfield. I don't think we're going to go and sign a defensive midfielder, a right midfielder, a centre back, and a striker in the summer. We'll probably get 2 of the 4. So which ones do you want? That's the issue there. It's taking season after season to plug these players, and it's just. It's so obvious what we need, but we just can't. We don't seem to be able to go out and recruit 3 or 4 players in one window, and we don't work well in January. So it's a case of
We all know why that is. I know
that. I know it's the finances, and I do get it. And COVID's going to play a massive part this summer as well. But I don't feel like we're going to go out and replace the players in the positions that we need to. And it's Marc hit the nail on the head. It's another position that we need to fill that we've neglected for years, and it's turning around and biting us. But like what you said with Tonali, he was on their bench last night. Kessie's a really good defensive-minded player from midfield, scored a cracking goal, which was disallowed. We don't have enough bite in that team. I think Fred's that player we thought we were getting, but Fred's passing ability is awful. I don't know what's happened to him, because I've seen him so much at Schalke, and he looked Shakhtar, and he looked brilliant. They're so inconsistent. It's crazy. Like, I just don't understand it. I was so frustrated last night watching that game, because I get that we change players and our rotation players ain't as good as our starting players. I get that, but it's so obvious. And don't get me wrong, I'm not making excuses. Milan are a good side. I think they've probably got a better squad than us. But yeah, like with regards to what, sorry, I went off on a tandem there, but I just wanted to try and put that across. But yeah, like I like Diallo, fantastic. Like made a massive improvement. So why has he not been playing more? Like that's my question. If he makes such an impact like that against a really good Milan team, why has he not been playing in the Premier League a bit more? And I know Marc will back me up on this. Marc said before when I've been on the show with him that we do need to be patient with him. I appreciate that, but the kid's got ability, and sometimes we need that ability to come through to change the way the game's going. That's what happened last night. But yeah, defensively, that goal was just a Man United goal to concede, wasn't it? It was just unfortunate. It was in the last minute of the game. I was absolutely gutted. I was absolutely broken on my couch. I thought we've got a great goal average there to go and take to Milan, and now we've just lost it, and we're up against it now. And I do feel we're going to have to play really well to win out there, and we're going to need our players back, which I don't think we're going to have, unfortunately. But if you can analyze the goal till the cows come home, can't you? There's defensive mistakes and everything. It's a case of it's just we switched off for 1 minute and got punished. But Henderson should do better, in my opinion. But I ain't going to sit here and criticize him because he's just been brought in. He's a young boy. He's going to have to be given time to fill the boots of Dave. So yeah, all in all, sorry, Keane, I went off on a bit of a tandem there, but I just wanted to put a couple of little bits and pieces across and try and sort of go off topic on what the other guys have said because they were spot on with their opinions. And sorry for the technical issue a minute ago.
Oh no, you're fine. Don't worry about it. And Marc, you said you had another point to make there, just with regards to last night.
Yeah, I do. Listen, I tried to be as positive as possible. We were poor last night. We have a lot to improve on, and we've seen that in many games this season. However, I do believe that Ollie, with his back against the wall, will pull something out of the bag. I know we didn't quite get that against PSG and Leipzig, but I do firmly believe that we are strong enough. It was just a poor night for us. And I know we've seen too many of those, but that also takes me back to, look, we weren't expecting to be where we are in the league. This is a very strange season for everybody where we are playing multiple games and only one team at the moment is winning everything bar the weekend, and that's City. And that's because they've got two pretty much world-class players to every position. Okay, so this summer, we do need to still get 3 or 4 players. Okay, we know that. We know what those positions are. Now, it might be difficult to get that marquee sign-in, but I do feel that even if we get 2 of those, that's a good step in the right direction. I feel that we are getting the right people. I feel that, now we got a technical director and the director of football. It's moving in the right direction. I'm not trying to make excuses for United or the Glazers at all, but as far as I'm concerned, they will know they need players. Everyone is suffering from the pandemic, and I think that you'll probably be more likely to see trades as opposed to actually buying. Okay, so we need to I feel we just need to appreciate where we are. We're against arguably one of the best sides in Europe. They've really come on a lot this season, AC, and they've been going through some problems too. And they've got a great team, and it's fortunate that we didn't come against their first team. But I really believe that Ollie will change it around next week and will come good.
There's actually a comment in there from Greg. I want to comment on. He would maybe put in a centre back as a defensive midfielder for the rest of the season. I don't think that's a bad shout. I'd nearly stick into Nzebe there, to be honest.
I totally agree with that. Nzebe.
Yeah, I'd try him out anyway and see how he gets on. But it's a good shout.
To be fair, like Matic has been very, very poor like last couple of times he's played, especially that West Ham game. He got exposed in the FA Cup as well, like against West Ham. But kind of just looking at the injury situation, guys, like when you actually look at the amount of injuries I know Liverpool fans, you moan about injuries all season, and like fair play. Like you can moan about the Van Dijk injury because obviously he's the best centre back in the world, right? But when you actually look at United's injuries right now, we've 8 first team players injured at the moment. 8. like that's 3/4 of your team. Like, do you know what I mean? Like in that regard, like 8 first team injuries at the moment, and now we're coming towards the running. Could this injury situation now be detrimental to us coming into the running, Amy? Because when you actually look at players like Paul Pogba, Donny van de Beek, Martial, Rashford, Juan Mata, there are players like this who could have influenced the game yesterday, and who would give us something different, especially from like a creative aspect. Are you worried now that, like, with all these tough games coming up, we still have to play at Leicester in the FA Cup, we still have to play Liverpool in the league, we still have to play Tottenham in the league? Are you worried now with this injury situation that it could, drag us into a top 4 race when you look at the moment, we're actually quite comfortable in second place?
Yeah, just going by how inconsistent this season has been as a whole, every team has been inconsistent. But I feel like because of the amount of games we've been playing up to 2 or 3 games a week, it was always going to come to this point where we had a couple of injuries. So I reckon this could. It could and it couldn't. You never know with United at this stage. They pull mad things out of the bag, like that game against City beating PSG. Like, you never know what they could pull out of the bag. But I think one thing we're very lucky of is Bruno not getting injured. The one player that we actually need. So if he gets injured, we are screwed.
Call it off.
Like, we seen what happened last night when he was taken off early. So,
yeah, like, look, when he came off last night, I was thinking, I'm going to play devil's advocate, because that's the name of the show. I played devil's advocate when he came off last night. I was like, do you know what? Ollie's Nay played a blinder at this, 20 minutes to go, 1-0, not picking up an injury, big game against West Ham on the weekend. And then the goal goes in, and then the other part of your brain hits, and I was just like, geez, if Bruno was on, we probably could have scored a second. Do you know what I mean? But I can understand his thinking by taking Bruno off last night, mind them, because obviously you look at the injury situation we have at the moment, it's quite bleak at the moment. But yeah, like, for me, I think when you look at the run-in and you look at the teams we still have to play, I think it's very, very important that we get these players back, because, like, you look at Paul Pogba, for example, as someone who I want to come to, is a player that polarizes opinion within the Manchester United fan base. He's a very polarizing figure. Like, he divides opinion among massive things. Just like, I strongly want Paul Pogba to stay at this football club, because I think there's no other midfielder at our club or even in the league that we can get who can do what he does. Now, you can argue Kevin De Bruyne when he's fit, but let's be realistic about this. Paul Pogba is not going to go to Man City, and Kevin De Bruyne is never going to come to Manchester United. Like, when you look at Paul Pogba's quality, I want him to stay, because when you've seen his form between Leipzig and when we went top of the league, he was absolutely fantastic. And we've seen how him and Bruno express themselves, and they're both in the same midfield. I think, obviously, when you get a top defensive midfield player, you'll see the quality of both of them guys. But I just need to call this out. There's many people in the Manchester United fan base who are calling Paul Pogba to go. There's many people in the Manchester United fan base who said Paul Pogba wasn't a top midfield player and he's overrated. These same Manchester United fans are now crying for him to stay. The ones who are not going to, who said that he's overrated and he's not quality, are now crying for him to stay. It's mad how a bit of bad form can actually make people realize what we're actually missing. In that regard, like Paul Pogba, every time he's been at this club, he's never had quality to play around until Bruno Fernandes arrived to the club. And now you've seen the form at the back end of the lockdown last season, and then you look between Leipzig and when we were top of the league, he was absolutely superb. And I think to get the best out of both Pogba and Bruno Fernandes, it's integral that Pogba stays. Because then obviously Bruno has quality around him. And the fact of the matter is, if Bruno did go to the club and say he wants the club to show ambition, the club showing ambition is keeping Paul Pogba at the football club. Because on his day, he's one of the best midfield players in world football. And you get a defensive midfield player in there to play alongside them too, you have a title winning midfield. That you put in a top class defensive midfield player in alongside them too. Name a midfield in the Premier League that matches that, other than Manchester City. there isn't. There literally isn't in that regard. So for me, I feel so strongly about him staying at this football club because the quality player he is, and I know what he can be. We just need to get quality around him, because I fear if he leaves, we don't replace him. I don't trust our board to replace him adequately. Now, people can talk about Donny van de Beek being at the club, but Donny van de Beek didn't play when Paul Pogba was injured. So where does that suggest that Donny van de Beek plays in the team when Paul Pogba leaves? So that's why I feel strongly in the case of Paul Pogba staying. But we have a comment in here from Jamie Gretton, and it's actually something we're actually going to come to tonight. And Jamie must be hacking my phone and reading my notes, because he's just said it in the comments here. He must be Piers Morgan hacking my phone. Jamie has said Hugo could be in the squad for Sunday, apparently. Mark, we actually discussed this off camera about Joe Hugill. Fantastic player in the under 23s. He's been scoring a number of goals, and at this moment in time, Mason Greenwood is our only fit number 9 at the minute. For you, do you bring Joe Hugill up, considering the injury crisis we have and the shortage we have of strikers at the minute?
I mean, it looks like that their hand could be forced, really. I said to you off camera that I feel, and I felt the same with Ahmed, you don't want to integrate them too quickly and too early. If it backfires in any way, it can be hugely detrimental to a young kid that doesn't have the experience and the know-how to deal with that sort of thing. He may well be included. Whether or not he gets minutes, I don't know. I personally wouldn't do that. But again, as I said, as you've said, with our injury problems at the moment, he's got a very good chance. To be honest with you, we've been very lucky this season, I think. I think it was always going to be at some point that we were going to have a bit of an injury crisis. Every team gets that usually every season. As I said earlier, with the amount of games, it's kind of expected. But if you look at this time last season, we were 5 or 6 players shorter than last season. If we'd had it then, it would have been a lot harder to accommodate and be able to deal with that. So I think that we should really, in a way, count ourselves lucky. It's not ideal, but this is what the management is all about, and managing the team in order to make sure that we've got sufficient players to play the game. I can see obviously Joe being in the squad. Will he play? Maybe. Do I think he should? No.
Yeah, there's when you look at the situation with Hugill at the minute, obviously with the 23s, he's banging in the goals. He's playing very well, and they come from it's Sunderland, I believe. Was it Sunderland he came from to United? Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was Sunderland he came from.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, they to be fair to Sunderland, I know they're down in the leagues, but they've actually in the last couple of years they've produced quite a few good youth players. You look, obviously, Josh Maja, he went to Bordeaux from Sunderland. Joel Asaro, another very good player. They did produce, I know he divides opinion, but Jordan Pickford out of their academy as well. So Sunderland do produce good players out of their academy. It's just a pity their first team isn't great. But when you look, he came from that academy, he's come to United, and he's played quite well in the 23. So look, I suppose part of me would say it's probably a big jump, especially this stage of the season. But then I look, the romantic side of me then looks at it, and it's we had 2 players who made jumps in the last couple of years in the forward position, in Marcus Rashford and Mason Greenwood, and they haven't done too badly. So that's I'm always playing devil's advocate here. It's just mad, in terms of when I look at situations. I can think about it one way, but then I think about the pros and cons. But I'd love if he got on the bench Sunday, and look, if we needed a goal and he came on and scored, wouldn't that be just fantastic? But yeah, Mark, I do agree that we do need to be conscious in how we deal with him, because obviously he's 17, 18, again, very young age. There's no bigger pressure than being a Manchester United striker Do you know what I mean? We've seen many strikers come to the club and crumble. So, like, I think, look, we need to be conscious in what we do with them, and kind of, going forward, obviously promoting the youth. We always know that they do get a chance at Manchester United. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how he gets on.
Just one quick thing. I think you remember 5 years ago we had an injury to Anthony Martial, and that enabled Rashford to play. So you never know, and that would be a lovely dream come true for him, I'm sure. And he is a phenomenal talent. I've seen a lot of the under-23s. He's built, he's tall, he's strong, and I think he's got a good argument to play. And you never know, it might work out for him. I just hope that if it doesn't quite work out for him this weekend, if he does play, that people don't tend to be too reactionary like we see a lot.
Yeah, Twitter is just a cesspool sometimes, isn't it? Like, you just have to kind of have to put the phone down, don't you? Sometimes you see some reactionary stuff, you're like, man, just calm down, take a chill pill. Seriously. It's just like that sometimes. But looking into West Ham, obviously, this weekend, it's West Ham versus Manchester United preview. West Ham are an informed team at the minute. They're doing quite well. They're doing quite well, under David Moyes. And I just want to say fair play to David Moyes. Like, he's after picking up his reputation back up, considering what is the fallout from his time at United. Like, look, he went to Real Sociedad, went to Sunderland, and absolutely killed his reputation. But like, looking at him now at West Ham, like, he's currently 5th in the table, 2 points off Chelsea and 4th with a game in hand. Like, he's doing quite well. And they've a lot of very good players this season, though. Thomas Souček's been fantastic. Antonio has been very good. Kufal, the right back, is very good. Aaron Cresswell, I think, is up there in the top 5 left backs in England this season. Obviously, Luke Shaw is the best. Get that one in for Marc. But I think Aaron Cresswell has been up there in terms of the best left backs in England this year. I think he's been outstanding. And though all for all, I think David Moyes has done a very good job this year. And for me, I always used to give David Moyes a slagging, and if people actually go back on the weekly armchair kickoff, you go to our Premier League preview at the start of the season, I predicted West Ham and David Moyes to get relegated this season. So maybe my opinion isn't worth much, in that respect. But if you want to go back and have a look in the archives, and when we first started out, that was a dodgy football opinion. If you want to go back and see that, I wasn't the only one on that show, by the way, who predicted him to get relegated. So I'm just throwing that out there too. You know who you are, guys. But Jamie, yourself, looking at West Ham, are you any way concerned coming into the weekend?
Yeah, because I think they're a good team. They're well organised. They've got some really good players. You've just listed a few of them there. Same as you, mate. Really like Souček. I feel like he's. I was having a chat with someone about this the other day on a different show. He reminds me of a Fellaini. You know how when Moyes went out and signed Fellaini, he seems to be that type of player. But I think Souček's probably a little bit technically better. I really like him, actually. He pops up with the odd goal, which Fellaini did as well. But they're well organised, and the same as you. I'm quite happy that David Moyes is doing well, because like what you said, when he was at Sunderland, he kind of trashed his career a little bit, didn't he? He done so well at Everton. Obviously, come to us. I think the job was a little bit too big for him. Got moved on quite abruptly. And then he sort of bounced around clubs, as you mentioned there. So it's nice to see him go back, and he seems to be sort of implementing what he was doing at Everton at West Ham now. And they've obviously got a couple of quid as well, so they can be in the market for certain players. And they're working in a very disadvantaged market at the moment. They seem to be targeting like Sparta Prague, who they got Souček from, markets like that, where they're not playing top dollar for players, but they're bringing quality players that other teams around Europe aren't scouting, because the leagues ain't so glamorous, so should we say. But I am a bit worried. I think they're going to come and they're going to put 2 banks of 4. They're going to try and hit us on the break. And you know what you're getting from the David Moyes team. They're going to be really well organised. They've got some match winners in their squad. They're going to get balls into the box at every opportunity going. and I'm just hoping we're switched on and we're ready to go, because we've had a little bit of a setback this week in the Milan game, and we can't afford to let that roll over into another. Not going to say detrimental result would probably be better. We need to win this game at the weekend, and they're kind of fighting for the same prize as us, so to speak, at the moment, top 4. So I'm expecting a really, really tough game. It will be interesting to see what Mark and Amy think about this game as well, because I'm generally quite a little bit worried about it, to be honest with you.
And Amy, like yourself, just come to yourself. Like you look at a player like Mikel Antonio, who's been fantastic this season up front. He's a very pacey striker, and he does get into very good positions. Are you worried about the pace of Antonio, especially the fact if we play like Maguire, Lindelof, and if we play that same kind of high line that we played against City last weekend?
Yeah, I think the high line is out of the question, to be honest. You can't play that. I think we'd be crucified if we do. I completely agree with Jamie. I'm actually worried. I'm worried about Sunday, especially with all the injuries, and like we're missing a lot up front. So even if you look at our bench is quite negative as well. It's all defensive, but they will probably try catch us in the counter, but we might not have a choice but to play the same way. So it could either go 2 ways. It could be quite boring as well. But yeah, I'm worried, and we also need to be careful of set pieces, like every other game.
Yeah, that seems to be
more
like
confident. Sorry, Keane, go on.
It's like that seems to be your current team in terms of like where we're conceding goals is from set pieces, and zonal marking seems to be the detriment of Manchester United this season. I think zonal marking has cost us a lot of points this season. I don't know how to sort it out yet, to be quite honest. We're in March now, so I don't know what's going on there from a coaching aspect. But Mark, with regards to this yourself, are you feeling like this is more important than Milan on Thursday? Because Jamie Gretton has just pointed that out in the comments. He believes that this game on Sunday for the top 4 is more important than the game against AC Milan on Thursday.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you to pull that one up, so thank you. You saved me a job. Yeah, I do. I firmly agree with Jamie. It was only a few weeks ago where we had this schedule that we were a bit concerned about, and we were very much saying, play the kids. It's only, we're in this position, fortunately, now. So we're having to play a stronger team. We're having to really think about how we're going to set up tactically. But ultimately, we are looking for a trophy and top 4, hopefully second or third. To be able to put all your eggs in one basket with the Europa League is probably not the right thing to do. And we really need to keep chasing the points. We were very shocked, surprised, and elated on Sunday when we beat City 2-0. So again, we're in a position that we probably didn't expect. It is a must win. We really, this is going to be a tough game. I am a little bit concerned. I think with Eric and Harry playing yesterday, we can pretty much unequivocally say that both Lindelof and Harry are going to start this weekend, which means that they aren't particularly pacey, and therefore it's going to be a bit of a struggle to play a high line. Unless we play similarly than what we did, like we did against City, and perhaps our fullbacks can provide a bit more cover. So it's going to be a tough one. I think, they are the perfect, well, in their eyes, they're the perfect team to play against us with set pieces and crosses and all of that jazz. So it's going to be a tough one. But, as I said, I do try and always be glass half full. I feel that we will get a result. I feel after yesterday, Ollie's back being against the wall ever so slightly, I really feel that we could get a result this weekend.
I actually seen a tweet a while ago from someone, I can't remember who it was, but they were saying maybe if we scrap Europa League and stop the Thursday and Friday games and focus on Premier League and FA Cup, I don't know how you feel about that, but to be honest, with the injuries at the minute and the back-to-back games,
Yeah,
I nearly would.
to be honest, weeks ago, I think Keane, you were on that show on Orf United a few weeks ago. I think we were I was very much in the camp of we really need to focus on the Premier League, and I think at that time, we were top, and it is more important. We want to show that we are, progressing, and we are only a couple of players away, and yes, we want to be challenging on all fronts, and I always firmly believe that. However, sometimes you have to prioritise, and I do believe. I would agree with that tweet, Amy. It was a good tweet, so it must have been from Keane. I do agree with it, and I feel that we probably should focus on the FA Cup. It would be a good trophy to get. Break the semi-final duck. We're in the semis, and we are probably better at approaching English opposition as opposed to European. So. I still feel that's a very good point, and it's difficult, isn't it? Because you're in the quarters, you're one step away from the semis, and it is another chance for a trophy, and it's very difficult to weigh that up. And I couldn't do their job. They must be.
The other worrying thing though about it is next week we literally could be out of the Europa League and FA Cup in the space of 3 days.
No, that's mad. It really is. Jamie, I must say, that's a nice hoodie you're wearing now. I know you went to get a hoodie, but that's actually a really nice hoodie you're wearing, I must say.
Don't know if you're taking the mick or not.
No, I'm not. I'm genuinely saying it's a nice hoodie. Like.
Honestly, I've had them. I know.
You know what? You came on the camera, right? And I was like, "Ooh, that's nice. What the fuck?"
I don't know if you're on the wind-up, but I'll take it as a compliment.
Maybe it is a nice hoodie.
Wind-up.
It is a nice hoodie. Maybe he wasn't expecting it. Could be that.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it. Cause I thought you're going to grab a hoodie. I thought you're just going to grab something plain. You're a bit cold. But that's snazzy. Do you know what I mean?
Honestly, to be honest, you will know by the pre-match that I'm having a bit of a mare tonight, so I'm a bit all over the place. So if people are watching and they're wondering why I had quite a short zipper on, and I was really cold because my living room's quite big. So I'm a little bit I'm like, what is actually happening here? I'm supposed to be on this show. So just please bear with me. You'll know, you see me on here all the time. I ain't usually this all over the place, but I do apologise, Mark. I do apologise, Amy. I'm not usually like this.
You're absolutely
but I'm really cold.
You're okay. You're grand.
I thought I need to go and get a hoodie here because my teeth are chattering and everything, and I'm just going to look ridiculous. So I need to go and get something warm off. Sorry.
Sorry. I suppose, obviously, we're looking at United and West Ham, and when you actually look at the game itself, one player who is ineligible to play, personal favourite when he was at the club, Mr. Jesse Lingard. In fantastic form for West Ham since he's gone to the club, and he was nominated for player of the month. Obviously, Kai Gundogan got the player of the month award today. Unfortunately, I was hoping Lingard or Fernandes would get it this month because they're both up for it. But Jamie, just touching on briefly just on the form of Jesse Lingard, I'm going to come to the two lads on it as well. What do you make of the form of Jesse Lingard since he's gone to West Ham? Do you think he's resurrected his career?
Yeah, it's been a breath of fresh air, ain't it? From a Man United fan's point of view, it's really good to see. He's had a really difficult time, ain't he? And I feel like, and maybe the others will pick on this as well, I think he's been criticised a little bit by our fan base in the past. Maybe a little harshly. He had a lot going on in his personal life, but it's very hard sometimes as a fan because I'm critical of it sometimes. I'll judge somebody how they're playing on the football pitch, not what's going on in their personal life. And obviously his was made very public. So I think it's fantastic. I think it's a really good move for him. He's went somewhere where he's going to know some of the lads from his England duty days. Got some really good players in that West Ham team, like we were speaking about before I disappeared and got my nice hoodie. And it's just good to see from his point of view. I bet you he's really enjoying his football as well. He's back to joking about Jesse, which I like to see as well. He's a bit of a character, so that's good to see. And you know what? He's banging in goals as well, and he looks a brilliant player. And this is the Jesse Lingard we wanted to see, isn't it? So it's quite frustrating that he's not wearing a red top and playing the way he is at the moment. But on a side note, I'm absolutely delighted for him, and it'll be interesting if he can finish in the form that he's been in for West Ham. If he can go into the rest of the season, I think if they get that Jesse, they might be playing European football next year, and he might have a future at United. I don't know whether he's going to have a future at United, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. Maybe Ollie will give him a pre-season, see if he comes back in with that bit between his teeth again. I just think there's better players in that position, the positions he plays in at United. I think that's probably his issue.
You know what, personally, I said this before Lingard left, right? I said this on a podcast, and you can go back on the channel when we were talking about possible outcomes. I said Lingard had more to offer than Dan James, but the fact of the matter is Lingard's on 100 grand a week wages, and can you really afford to have that in your reserves at the time? Because obviously Rashford and Martial, all that were playing reasonably okay. Greenwood was playing okay, but you look at it now, and look at the squad now. You'd love to have Jesse right now, like considering the form he's on now as well. Like he can cover anywhere in the front three. But I think I think he's a better player than Dan James. He's a lot more to offer, and he's more versatile. But obviously, his wages were probably a massive factor as well in terms of why he left.
Yeah, no, definitely. It'll be. I know Mark likes to break down individual performances, so it'll be interesting to see how he's viewing Jesse Lingard. But I won't keep it much longer. I'm just delighted for him as a human being. He's had some really tough times, and it's great to see him back on the football pitch doing his thing. So yeah, I think I'll leave it with that. You just hit the nail on the head, Keane. I think he's got ability. He could offer something in that United team, but sometimes it takes for a player to go away to then re-find themselves again. So I don't think his Manchester United career is over. I just think a lot of Man United fans would probably like to see him go elsewhere and do well, maybe on a permanent basis. I know I would support him, whoever he went to. I'd watch his games because he's a talented boy, and sometimes it takes for that little move away, don't it? It's the same with Januzaj. I think Januzaj is another example of that. Went to Spain, doing really well now. Had a lot of ability, didn't necessarily cut it at United to the level that you needed to be to play in that team. Van Gaal had blood in his hands for that one. Van Gaal had blood in his hands. He did, but it's great to see for Jesse, isn't it? From a Man United fan's point of view, it's great to see him back playing and scoring goals.
I absolutely love him. I absolutely love Lingard. Mark, can I come to you? What do you think about Lingard's current form at West Ham?
Yeah, I completely echo what Jamie said, to be honest. I think this comes back to how we are reactionary towards players sometimes. And Jesse was that typical one. You know, we know his ability. You know, a couple of seasons ago under Mourinho, he had 2 phenomenal months, and we've seen the ability over the years. You don't just lose that. Obviously, we weren't aware of his personal life, and I can assure you, you know, when you're going through issues in a personal life, it does affect your work. And if you are a football player that's in the limelight, it's really going to affect you, okay? Because you've got all eyes coming from all directions, and you've got to think about damage limitation and all of this sort of thing. And I, to be honest, after hearing all that, I felt incredibly sorry for him. Nobody should have to go through that. And as I say, the ability is there, and I'm so pleased for him. I honestly am. I'm so pleased for him. And whether his future is at United or West Ham or somewhere else, you know, that's up to whoever's involved. But ultimately, if we got Jesse Lingard back now on the form that he is, I think everyone would be relatively pleased. It's just an unfortunate situation. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? And I'm just pleased. Honestly, I think West Ham is not his level necessarily, but I think he's more than got the ability for someone of West Ham, and obviously they're doing very well, and that's testament to him too. But I think that, you know, the fact that he played under Moyes, he has a good relationship, as you said, Jamie, with a lot of the players. I think that's only going to bode well for him. And yeah, honestly, I am very, very happy for him, and I hope that continues.
I think you made a good point there, Mark. Like, our fan base are not very good, and it's a difficult one because it's hard for a fan to, and as I say, I've been guilty of it in the past, so I'll hold my hands up, of not understanding the situation as to why the player's playing bad. Because all the players that are at Man United, they've all got ability, every single one of them. It's just, you never know what's going on in their personal life to dictate why they're making these mistakes, on the pitch and not performing up to their standard. And it's very hard as a fan because you're never going to know the other side of the game. You're just seeing what's happening on the football pitch. But obviously Jesse's was made very public, and so was Greenwood's, with unfortunately his friend passing away, and his form did dip a little bit. But then, do you know what it is? And sometimes I'm a bit guilty of this, but they're just human beings, at the end of the day. They're just very good at what they do. They don't choose what they're earning. They get that based on their ability. And I think there's a big difference between the player and the person. And sometimes the fan base won't ever judge what's going on for the person. They'll just judge what's going on the field. And as I say, I've been there and done that one, and I'm sure maybe you have as well. It's very hard to not judge them for the football aspect, but there is another life away from football as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it's one of them things where I think as football fans, we're all guilty at sometimes that we all give a reactionary opinion, and we actually don't think what we're saying at that time. And then you kind of you might reflect on it then an hour, half an hour, or even a day later, you're thinking, you might be on a show, or you might be texting it to one of your friends or whatever, and you might think, shit, did I actually say that? But look, hindsight's 2020. It's a beautiful thing, and look, I just hope, from my point of view, because I am a huge fan of Jesse Lingard. I just hope that he can go on and he can rejuvenate his career and get on the form that he was still at United. And look, if he can keep playing the way he's playing now, he might. I'm saying he's a lot of competition, but he might be in Gareth Southgate's plans because he played well in the World Cup for England, and Gareth Southgate trusts him. And what Gareth Southgate tends to do is go to players who he trusts, not the other options. So it'd be interesting to see if he's in his plans to come June. But Amy, I'm going to come to you on this before we go to our score predictions for Sunday. What do you make of the former Jesse Lingard at West Ham, and are you happy to see him kind of rejuvenate his career?
Yeah, look, I've never really been a big fan of Jesse Lingard, but I feel like being at a club like West Ham, that has suited him. We are seeing the best of him at the minute. Being completely honest, if we were to go into transfer window and we were to make signings, I don't really see a place for him at United anymore. But by all means, I'm actually happy to see him playing the way he is at the minute. And we're actually very lucky he can't play against us on Sunday.
Yeah, if he was playing Sunday, lads, I would be absolutely I would be absolutely shitting it, to be quite honest with you, in that regard. But since you're on about Lingard, yeah, thank God. He'll be in the stadium, though. I guarantee he'll be in the stadium, and he'll have a little Snapchat, a little selfie up. Though there'll be a camera on him, probably wearing some funky sunglasses. Hopefully it's sunny in Manchester that day, because that won't be a great look if it's lashing rain like it always is.
Good joke. Sunny in Manchester.
Yeah, hoping for a bit much, am I? But I'd come to Jamie Gretton there, because it's kind of alluding to Amy's point, send Lingard to Leicester and ask for Yuri Tielemans. I'm going to tell you now, Jamie, Manchester United are not going to do business with Leicester for a long time after getting their pants put down for Harry Maguire for 80 million. There's more chance United won't offer money and Lingard for Declan Rice for the defensive midfield role. I think that makes more sense. I think United will not do business with Leicester again for a long, long time, because £80 million, we got our pants pulled down. But we're at our favourite part of the show now, guys. Score predictions. Now, usually, recent weeks, I've made score predictions, and some of them come true, some of them aren't. But with the lack of attackers, it's kind of hard. To do the score prediction. So I'm going to go last because I want to get the feel for what everyone else's is. I'm going to cheat. Today. Jamie, going to come to you first. What's your score prediction for Sunday? How's it going down?
Do you know what? I am a bit worried about this game. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to try and be as honest as I can. Of course, I hope we get the win, but I just think it's got a draw written all over it, this. I think they'll come with the attitude of not getting beat, and I feel like maybe that might be our downfall, and we might it might play out as a ball draw. But I'm hoping we can bounce back from midweek, but I just have a feeling this one's going to be a draw. I don't know why. I just have. So I'm just going to be honest, and I hope we win, of course. 1-0. 1-0.
1-1.
I hope I'm wrong, by the way. Anybody that's watching this, hope I'm wrong.
Mark?
I'm glad you didn't throw me under the bus. So thank you for that, first of all. Yeah, I totally agree with Jamie. I'd like to say a win here, but I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. And that's purely because of the injuries we have, and we have struggled to score. We're playing at home. I think it's going to be a bit cagey. I think West Ham are probably going to be a little bit cagey because of what's on the line for them. This is a big season for them. And I think United, with injuries, with results, I think it will probably be a 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw. 2 1-1s. Amy, are you in agreement?
Yeah, I think it's going to be cagey as well, but you know what?
Don't do it.
I'm going to go.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm going to go with a 1-0 win with a Bruno penalty.
I hope you're right.
You just
hope you're right.
You just take it.
If Amy
That's
didn't
two
say
strings
that,
in a row now.
if Amy didn't say that, you would have said that, Keane.
I know. That's why I said don't do it. That's why I said don't do it, because that was my prediction. So,
Second stream in a row.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm going to go slightly different. I'm going to be overly optimistic. I'm going to be the positive one here for once, and I'm going to go 2-0 Man United with 2 Bruno penalties.
I thought you were going to say Ahmad or something.
No. Do you know what? I'll leave that to Shane, because I know we have our pre-match show on Sunday. Actually, so you need to get that plug in. We have a pre-match show Sunday, our first ever pre-match show, and so Mr. Shane Dowley will be joining me on that along with other guests. And so I'm guessing Shane will probably throw that prediction in at some stage on Sunday. So we've got a 2-0, a 1-0, 1-1s. Hopefully Manchester United get the 3 points. And we can go on and we can hopefully knock Milan out in the Europa League. That would be fantastic. So just before we finish, I'm just going to give the lads all a chance to shout out their socials. So Mark, where can our viewers find you?
Nice and easy. At Marc Biggs. No shit in between. Yeah, that's where you can find me.
Jamie, where can our viewers find you?
At Jan Mackay 1989 on Twitter, if you want to come and have a little bit of interaction with me, and hopefully I won't have an off night like I've had tonight. But I'm in the process of moving house, so that's why I'm a little bit all over the place. So I'm living out of boxes and stuff at the moment. So yeah, please bear with me. I might not be on the channel for a couple of weeks because I'm going to have to get my internet changed over and stuff, but I'll definitely be back, and we'll be a lot more consistent than this performance because I'm going to get 3 out of 10.
Do you know what? Your performance tonight is kind of like Anthony Martial in the last couple of weeks. You're absolutely fine.
No, I was going to try and pull it back, but I feel like I'm running out of time. But I did want to ask something.
Martial against Manchester City in a couple of weeks, so you're all right when you come back.
I did want to have a bit of interaction with Mark about something, but I feel like I'm out of time now, so I missed the boat, I think. But just about the defensive midfielder.
We literally
maybe
have to wrap up now because we have to jump on the London Lowdown literally now in 5 minutes. So, Amy, where can our viewers find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and it's U18. I'm also on the weekly armchair on Three Devils in the Gooner and She Devils United. Yeah,
so do check out all them channels, especially our all women show Three Devils in the Gooner. Fantastic show, and they do a great job over there. And they'll be live again next week as well. So do check that out. And as always, as you can see there in the handle, Keane_Franey, for all your banter, all your rivals, so Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool fans, if you all want to follow me too, that'd be massively appreciated so I can piss you off. But yeah, do catch me over there as well, because like we do have a bit of banter and Man United related tweets also. But yeah, look, thanks very much everyone for tuning in. If you want to jump straight over on the weekly armchair kickoff, we are live in 5 minutes, where we'll be previewing on the London Lowdown podcast. We'll be previewing Arsenal versus Tottenham Hotspur, the battle for 8th place. So if you want to go over and check us out over there, absolutely do. And then Sean be hosting myself, Steve and William, where we're going to have a lot of banter and breaking down the game also. So do check us out. And as always, like, share and subscribe. And we'll be back on Sunday.